And we're live. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. And welcome to the screen. My name is Þórdís Elva, and I head Nordic, which is one of the organizations that has been partner to the multi-year, multinational Game Changer project, which has since 2023 been focused on furthering the digital well-being of Nordic youth. And we are coming at you today from the headquarters of Next Level Gaming in Reykjavik, Iceland, in what I have to say is the pinkest room I have ever been in, which I think is personally quite amusing because there's still lingering stereotypes about gaming and esports being very male-centric spaces. And I feel like I should be in Barbie Land for the time being. I'm inside someone's spleen. But that is also part of the beauty of this consortium, if you will, because the Game Changer partnership is made up of a very broad range of cross-sectoral actors, where everyone from NGOs and hardcore academic nerds to gamer dudes in esports federations. And we are hosting this in a space where we are also concurrently hosting an offline event out in a gaming hall, which is perfect for our event today. What has been more challenging is this streaming space, but we have an excellent technician with us here today, Emprek, who's going to be the master of ceremonies. And I have to say, Emprek is not being paid enough to be here. Because at 12:30 last night, he was still sound checking, and it sounded something like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, I want to go home. 1, 2, I am hungry, and I want to go home. So we will be feeding Emprek post this production. But we will also be shamelessly blaming him for everything that goes wrong.
Most definitely,
because unlike us, with our faces on the screen, he will still be unrecognizable in the street after this production. But moving on, the Game Changer project partners, we are spread across Denmark, Sweden, Iceland, and Finland. We are namely the Center for Digital Pedagogik in Denmark. We are Digitalt Ansvar. We are the Nordic Digital Rights and Equality Foundation. We are Ofbeldisforvarnarskólinn in Iceland, the RISI Esports Federation of Iceland, Seoul Esports Federation of Finland, and KLUTS. And with me right now are Dagbjört Strandberg from the Center of Digital Pedagogy. This has always proven to be the hardest challenge in this project. It's not solving digital rights, it is pronouncing your organization's name.
Definitely. We could spend years doing that.
I also have Benna Sørensen with me here today in the Hall of Fame. Are you feeling famous enough?
Absolutely.
And we are so excited about the next 90 minutes, which will be very eventful, as we are not only launching the Nordic NAVIGATOR tool that we are so proud of, we're learning how to use it as well. We will be joined by the digital youth ambassadors of Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, and Finland, who have landed here from their beautiful springs in the Nordic region in our 6-degree overcast lack of spring in Iceland. But they will be telling us in no uncertain terms what we're doing well, what needs to change, and where we're headed for disaster if we don't play our cards right when it comes to our digital future. We will learn about outstanding Nordic initiatives, hear from experts as well as youth council members, and last but not least, explore ways in which we believe the Nordic region has the potential to take the global lead when it comes to digital rights, because we're cocky like that.
Definitely.
But the main event today here is the launch of the so-called Nordic NAVIGATOR. Dagbjört and Benna, that is exactly what you're here to do. So I am now going to hand the stage over to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. I'm Benna, and with me here is Dagbjört. And we want to maybe go into why we're here a little bit before we show you the website. I came into digital youth work sort of through violence prevention. That's my field. And in exploring that field, I sort of started to realize how much time youth spend online, and that we can't really exclude online spaces from prevention work. So what we have is an environment where we have the opportunity, because we talk a lot about the negative effects of young people spending time online. And I don't want to diminish those effects at all. They're definitely there. But I think there's also so much opportunity for positivity, and there's opportunities to use the positive sides of digital spaces much more than we actually do.
Definitely, yeah.
So that's sort of where I come into this, and that's what I have gained so much from our Nordic cooperation is to learn from people like Dagbjört from Denmark what it is that we can add to this.
Well, yeah, thank you. And like you, I also came into this field through unconventional means. I specialized within risk behavior and democratic participation of youth. But I always had this burning question within me, like why some youth are more prone toward risk behavior and negative harm.
Yeah.
And then also, how can we utilize our democratic system to support these children and youth? And I soon found out, like many of us, that you can't answer these questions without looking into youth online life, because it's simply too big of a part of a youth's life to ignore it. And secondly, youth have to be part of this conversation.
Absolutely.
Always, definitely. We can't just leave them out and have this conversation between us professionals. We have to engage youth within that. And that's what I like most working with my organization, Center for Digital Pædagogik, if we should say it in Danish, that we have been using or trying to solve these questions for over 20 years. But we still see that even though social media has been a part of the game for almost 2 decades, that many adults find it hard or simply ignore social media. And therefore we see a lot of children and youth being left alone, sort of to fend themselves within digital spaces. And we also see that we have the similar challenges within all the Nordic countries. And that is why a cooperation like this is so important, because we have also great solutions within the Nordic countries that we have to utilize.
Yeah.
And one of these challenges is, of course, that we see a large amount of children being exposed to risk behavior. And we see that vulnerable children are especially at risk. And there we see an overrepresentative of young men, both as victims and perpetrators within risk behavior and harmful content online.
Yes, we do. And I think that maybe there you're sort of starting to touch on why we do digital youth work and what digital youth work is. Because digital youth work is simply about accompanying children into online spaces. And we do this for the exact same reason that we as youth workers accompany children and youth into any other sort of spaces. We do this so that they're safe. We do this to help them sort of tackle the challenges that they meet in these spaces. But we also want to move further than that. We want to learn with youth. And we want to learn from them what it is that they are doing and what they need. And we want to help them to thrive. We want to help them to move further than just being safe. We want well-being for young people online. So that is sort of the core of what this project is. So
yeah, and that is where we need strong role models. We need these youth workers to be these strong role models, because we also know that everything you have to be successful online, you have to learn offline. You have to learn it through community, through the relationship, through values, and that those values and relationships and communities you get in an offline and with strong role models there.
you do, yes.
Um, and I think we should maybe just go and look at the website for that.
And I think that like that's also this sort of where we're starting there is why we got into making this project in the first place, because Thortís here, no stranger to Nordic cooperation. You've done a few of those, and what got me hooked right at the beginning is when you were telling me about all these amazing projects that are out there, and they are not getting the recognition that they should have. They're not getting the distribution that they have. They're not being shared enough. And that also means that we have all the extremely capable and amazing people that work in this field that are sort of reinventing the wheel. So we have the limited sort of resource that is our people spending their energy into making solutions for the same problems as you talked about, and sometimes coming up with the same solutions
when they're literally neighbors.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
could literally be
Yeah.
establishing an idea exchange across borders.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have such a great system here in the Nordic countries. We have great schools. We have schools that are built on democratic values and youth engagement. So we have all the means to be the leading.
And with Denmark and Sweden, there's literally a bridge. You could go like,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, what fantastic things are you doing over there?"
Don't get into Sweden, Denmark.
Oh God,
It's
it's a hot potato.
Yes, all right. Yeah, but that's sort of the foundation of what this project is that we need to be sharing so that we can then start to build upon these different projects. We want to be adding to what we are doing. So if just I get to take our audience into our website, then the first thing that you see is our 4 project partner nations: Iceland, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. And that means that also we have a pretty good representation of the Nordic countries, but we also have a lot of room to grow. And the other thing that you see there is what we intend to do in this website. We intend to equip educators with the knowledge to protect youth from harm and to increase their well-being online. And for now, I'm going to choose all 4 flags, but because that allows me to continue on in English. So what we see here is that we basically get taken right to the good stuff. When I scroll down there a little bit, I see our full library of, like I say, just under 300 resources.
That's a lot of resources.
That's a lot. So maybe let's not use that way to search for things. So what we have is that we can also choose by what we're looking for. So if I'm looking for texts, if I'm looking to grow as a youth worker and to learn, I can toggle reports or publications, and then I just get a number of these texts that are there for us to learn from and for us to sort of increase our world when it comes to this. But also, a lot of us are here for the practical stuff.
Yeah.
We want to learn about teaching materials. We want things that we can use in practice right away. And then I can do that in a number of ways. I can do that by searching country specific, and that means that I get initiatives that are all Icelandic, and that means Icelandic language and accessibility for us. And incidentally, we have one there that's called the Eggplant Bot, or the Nude Game, as we very often called it, which is made by this consortium. So we're very proud of that. And what we have there is then a description of what the game or what the resource really essentially is, and as well as that, we get a way of getting into that resource. But also sometimes we want to grow. We want to learn from other countries as well. So we can skip the country specific and we can go into doing this by subject or by demographic. So if I choose gaming, then I get a number of initiatives that are specifically to do with gaming. So if I have a gaming group, then I can do what we want there. And as well as that, we also have, if we want to search by demographic, we can search for LGBTQ, and then we get the resources that either have to do specifically for that group, or they mention their interests specifically.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that you should really note when you see the marginalized groups, is that there are fewer of those. There's a lot fewer of these. So that's also another thing. And if we choose, for example, inclusivity, then we see we have even fewer. So that's part of what this website does, is that it allows us not only to find practical resources for us to use in our work, it also allows us to build this sort of build upon and to see where are there gaps. And that is one of the things that we sort of need to have to really take the lead, as Thordís mentioned before.
Definitely, and this website, I think it is an awesome tool to have, but and an awesome part of this project. But I actually have another part of this project that is my favorite part, and do you know what that is?
I think I do.
Yeah,
I think I do.
And that is our awesome youth workers, or not youth workers, they are our youth ambassadors.
Yes.
And they have been doing such a great job, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. And I think that maybe you and I should simply leave and give the stage
I think
to
so
them.
as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Starbjört and Benna. And I think some fanfare is in order, because the Nordic Navigator is now officially live and free to use. Thank you so much for the demonstration. We hope that it's simple enough for those sitting, watching us on the screen, to navigate this tool in the future. But as they so aptly said, one of the flagship initiatives of the Game Changer project is also our digital youth ambassadors, who have populated the Nordic Digital Youth Embassy for the last year. And they have now joined me in the set. We have Ella Kankara from Finland. We have Arvid Ros Isaksson from Sweden. We have Liv Skov from Denmark. And we have Iris Thora Birgisdottir from Iceland. Welcome to the stage, everyone. How are we doing this morning?
Very nice.
Well.
Yeah, we're doing well.
Happy to be in Reykjavik.
I'm going to jump straight to you, Ella, because you have arrived from Brussels to be with us today, and that has to do something with your role as a digital youth ambassador. Can you tell us something about that?
For sure, I would love to. So I participated in EuroDig, European Dialogue on Internet Governance, which is a yearly forum, took place in Brussels this year. And I was there on behalf of the Game Changer project, participated in organizing this year's workshop number 4, which covered gender-based online violence and gender-based discrimination in the digital sphere, public digital sphere, and also within AI. And I think the workshop went great. I got to discuss the dialogue between activists and other people calling for meaningful moderation and meaningful ways to step in and prevent gender-based online violence, and how that sometimes gets well transferred and sometimes not as well transferred into proper policy. And
exactly, and sometimes gets entirely lost in translation, as we have learned. And that is one of the things that we discovered when we were making the Nordic Navigator tool, which all of you were instrumental in the process of. What we had the chance to materials, which also enabled us to see the strengths and weaknesses, not only of the Nordic region in this field, but of our individual countries. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because now we are going to talk about not only what our individual countries are doing well, but where we have dropped the ball and or could learn from each other in this realm. But if we start with our strengths, just to stroke our egos a little bit, Arvid, can you tell us, what do you think Sweden is doing well with regard to the outstanding materials that we gathered for the Nordic Navigator?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have many different things we are doing well, but one of the things I really do think we're doing very well is that we're doing multiple projects where there are multiple phases where you include youth, where youth helps youth, basically. And there are many initiatives that are more approaching that aspect of helping youth understand the online world, both the positives and the negatives. And we have been doing this very well. I would say that's the biggest thing Sweden is doing right now. I've been reading a lot of articles where they both have this available online, but also in person, which I think is very good. And it's people my age, even younger than me, teenagers helping even younger kids learn about the online world.
And we know for sure that peer education is very effective
Yes.
because youth do tend to listen more closely to what other youth have to say. But isn't that also related to what you found to be Sweden's biggest weakness, if you will?
Absolutely, and it's sort of a two-pronged thing. It's something that's growing, and I think there should be more of it, because a lot of the Swedish texts were written by adults for children. So it was a lot of grown-ups talking to kids about the online world, about abuse, about sex, and I could just see how I myself would have reacted in being 15 and having an adult talking to me about that type of stuff. I would just be thinking they know nothing about today's world. But if there was someone that was 25, younger than that, maybe 20, talking about the same things, I would feel both that they're cooler, but also the fact that I would feel more of a connection to that person, that they understand where I am coming from. And I think we definitely need to see more of that in Sweden.
Absolutely, and that's why digital youth ambassadors are
Exactly.
so important, because
Yes.
we do think that you have a better way to reach your generation than me, Benna, and Dagbjört, who've been sitting in this set this morning, ever have a chance of doing. But if we go over to Iceland, Iris, I know that you're no stranger to the field in our country. What would you say we're doing right here, and where do we have room for improvement?
Well, one of the big things that I noticed, and of course you as well have noticed, is that our emergency hotline operator takes online mileage very seriously, and they have like a series of informational websites where they basically identify online violence as an emergency, the same way that they would identify, you know, a house fire or a break-in or something as an emergency, and they really are placing emphasis on, you know, teaching children about, you know, what to do in said situation, where they can look, because I think it's also very important for children and young adults to understand their rights. And the thing is, it is a right to be protected online, and you have a right to be able to look for help. And it can be so daunting, especially when you like are subject to abuse because you feel so small. But they have to understand that like someone's there for them, and I think it's very, very admirable that our government has placed emphasis on that, and I think that's a very positive thing.
And I think it's so important to grow up knowing that you can call 112 if someone shares an inappropriate picture of you, just like you can call 112 if there's a fire.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really just powerful statement kind of from Iceland to identify online violence on the same level of emergency as those other kinds of emergency, because it is an emergency and we do have to respond to it accordingly. But where we could do better, there were quite a few things that stood out to me. But I think the main thing was maybe intersectionality. Iceland was lacking in a lot of sectors. There really was not much mention of race. There was not much mention of, you know, country of origin or something like that, and especially also disability. I think Iceland could do a lot better in both mentioning how disability is an intersection in online violence, but also you could kind of see that disability isn't something on people's mind just in the way that the resources in themselves were written and structured. Like a lot of them were not accessible. They did not have read aloud options. They did not have translations. They were mostly just like written, and you know that is important to have like in-depth written resources, but videos are way more accessible, not only for people with disabilities, but also just for children. You know, is a child going to want to read like 1,000 words? No, they'd much rather watch a video. And so I think that that is one of the big things that Iceland could definitely improve.
Absolutely, and we know that the disabled population is very active in online spaces. So this is an incredibly important point, but I don't think it's native to Iceland alone. I do think that this has been somewhat of a cross-Nordic weakness and a gap that we need to fill, is the gap of accessibility and ableism, in the sense that we don't have enough resources that caters to a diverse population of users. If I may go over to you, Liv, and we may check in with the Danish perspective, what would you say that is being done well in Denmark, and where could you guys be stepping up your game?
Yeah, well, I think in general in Denmark, the resources all kind of echoes the same thing as dialogue, being like a central part of the way to approach youth's digital lives, like with a more interested perspective in how this digital life is also very important for youth. And I think a lot of the material is very good at recognizing online spaces as important social spaces. And I think that kind of connects to the way that the material also will emphasize dialogue, and also a lot of the material is kind of focused on online spaces where youth already kind of go about their days, and that kind of shows itself in different kind of gaming resources and gaming groups for youth to participate in. And I think I want to put add to Iris' point about intersectionality as being one of the themes where Denmark could also really step up their game. We have a lot of resources targeting like a very specific normative person, and not a lot of resources dealing with different intersections and how these different intersections kind of call for different actions and different materials.
And for those that may not be familiar with the use of the word intersections and intersectionalities, we're talking about overlapping identities. So if you belong to different minorities, for example, if you are disabled, if you are belonging to the LGBTQ community, if you have an immigrant background, if you're a woman, all of these factors, and if they intersect, make it so that you are more vulnerable in online spaces and more likely to be subject to harm.
Exactly,
Yes.
yeah. And then
For helvede, men.
Yeah, precis. Exactly.
We learned Danish for 6 years in this
Yeah.
country, but the only thing that sticks is the swear words.
Yeah.
So Icelanders are very excited when they get to swear in Danish. Yeah. Would you say that concludes?
Yeah, I want to add that I think what Iris as well also said about the 112 hotline in Iceland, we could learn so much from that in Denmark, because we actually lack a lot of law explainers. I think a lot of youth, also I read some different reports that says that a lot of youth actually don't know what their digital rights are. So I think that would be also a point that I want to make, that we could really use some more material that wants to kind of educate youth in a understandable way about their rights and other people's rights, and about how to use them and how to use them also on behalf of others if you experience digital violence towards yourself or towards other people.
Exactly. And it seems like we're still stuck in a reality where the digital aspect of things seems to be like an afterthought with our governments. Not too long ago, I want to say 3 years ago, the Swedish government released an action plan, a 40-point action plan on how to lessen gender-based violence, and there was not a mention of digital realities. So I think we're still playing a game of catch-up, and I think we, as adults, could learn so much from the generation that has been born into the digital reality that we are facing today, that you could in so many ways be leading this pack. And Ella, I would love to hear what you think Finland is doing in the way of advancing the digital realm for youth, but also where you think you could be performing a bit better.
Yeah, there's definitely things that we do well. Looking at the Nordic Navigator materials, something that is very noticeable is these large information hubs where big name NGOs that families and people recognize and trust have large information banks that also target all stakeholders, all sides possible. So you have children and youth being accounted for, but also parents, information for parents. And then, of course, we have a wide array of materials meant for the classroom as well, which is important because this is a fight. The fight against online violence is something that is happening on all of these fronts. So it's important that there is materials for everyone. And something that I also want to highlight from Finnish, the NGO world in general, is that we have a lot of resources for people to actually talk to real people and get advice from real people, hotlines and takedown services and websites that you can report to when you find illegal material online, so that there are actual humans involved as well. But moving on to the maybe more lacking side, I mean, well, I will echo, and we've had conversations about intersectionality outside of or before this event too, that in Finland too, I would particularly highlight racism, which is a very prevalent issue in Finland society these days, and we can see that online as well. So I definitely think that we should be discussing in Finland more about how racism manifests in the digital sphere and what we can do to combat that. And I would also echo Liv's calls for law explainers. Finnish law is very complicated when it comes to digital online violence. It's not really accounted for, and I feel like sometimes Finnish youth might even feel like it's not illegal in Finland, looking at the law and stuff. So I think it would be important to create materials for people to understand that if you are a victim, there are steps you can take and to protect yourself and to fight back when that happens.
Absolutely. You're so right in pointing out that we definitely could do so much better with regard to racism, for example, ableism, and other aspects of online realities. And in the making of some of your personal projects, I know that we came across the erasure that we're currently seeing of some of the minority rights in online spaces. We know that we are living times that are quite tumultuous in the political landscape, and we know that social media platforms have many bent the knee, so to speak, to more authoritarian policies. And this actually is a great segue into the question about your personal projects, because we saw evidence of this. I will now give you all a chance to illustrate shortly your personal projects, but if we start with Arvid, he made a podcast, and the problem that I just illustrated about the erasure of certain minorities became very apparent in his personal project as recently as 2 days ago. And I will now hand it over to you, Arvid, to illustrate what exactly went down.
Yeah. So my personal project has been making a podcast. It's been about, among other things, AI, and I've worked with my colleagues sitting here in the panel to create the episodes. And whilst making my episode with Ella, we were talking about queer spaces online. Shortly put, of course, it's more substantial than that. But in the name of the podcast, I had queer, the word queer. And the platform we were using didn't allow the word queer because it said that their AI had put it under sensitive words and controversial words. So I had to put in LGBTQ plus instead for queer spaces. So like you said, I was in complete utter shock that was considered a dangerous word.
Exactly, and I think it's part of the censorship that we have to be so vigilant about, because we are also seeing an import of foreign influence into the Nordic region, which is known for our equality, and we're known for our democracies. So we have to be very vigilant when it comes to this like slippery slope of it sliding in through the back door, this type of censorship. When queer would certainly not be considered a controversial word in our part of the world, and we have to keep it that way, but we have to fight to keep it that way. But Arvid, your Game Changer podcast, how many episodes is it?
It's 4 episodes. It's shortly put, an introduction to what the podcast is about, more specifically. And then it's 3 episodes, one with each of my colleagues, where they are more in charge of specifying and talking about a subject they're very passionate about. And me sort of joining along the listeners and learning, and also partaking in the knowledge I have about the subject.
Wonderful.
It's very interesting. It's been very eye-opening for me, and it's been a very fun and eye-opening experience.
And in doing so, you actually filled a certain gap, because in your analysis of the materials available for Swedish youth about their digital realities, you came across the fact that it's heavily text-based and there wasn't a lot of audio material. So your podcast has, to some extent, met that need, and it is now available on Nordic.org.
Yes.
You can find the Game Changer podcast there and listen to all of these lovely young ambassadors. But I'm going to move on to Ella and ask you a little bit about your personal project.
Well, yeah, participating in Eurodig was my personal project also. And like I said, the session went great. We're now in the process of finalizing the form of the key messages of the session, which then will be taken to the Global Internet Governance Forum that is governed by the United Nations. So we'll get our message along to the level there.
The highest level of internet governance in the world, no less.
Yeah.
So your youth perspective will be resonating in those halls of power, which is extremely important and at the core of the Game Changer project, I must say. Iris, may I ask you a bit about your personal project? Because I know that was quite an eye-opener.
Yeah, so my personal project, I decided to kind of do a deep dive on what's happening with AI implementation into the Icelandic education system. And basically, the original idea was I was going to inspect the AI action plan and the point that is on like AI implementation into the education system. But I ended up speaking with like a lot of people just about like what's happening and about specifically like pilot projects that are happening in the Icelandic education system currently. And I found out that there's a whole lot more happening than is at all like advertised. Like people don't even know that like Iceland is doing big things, and we're doing them actually quite well, but obviously there's like a million things we could be doing better. So basically, the end result of my personal project ended up being essentially like a dissertation. It's like a really long overview on everything that's happening, all the things that are just currently happening right now, what is coming up next, and like the gaps that I identified, the things that we could do better, and I gave my own like personal opinion on like what we should do to improve the circumstances. And we have planned to release that soon enough. I think sometime next week or in the week following that, we're going to release it, and we're going to have like a stakeholder meeting where I present this to people in Iceland, because obviously it's most relevant to people in Iceland because it's located here. But I think people in other countries would also very much gain something from reading it, because AI, it's global, you know, it's not just bound to one place. I think if someone is doing something well in AI in one place, everyone can have something to learn from it. And if someone, if like a gap has been identified and, you know, steps toward a better AI implementation have been identified, everyone can also learn from that, because we're all in the same place right now where everyone's scrambling to figure out what to do, because it really isn't clear. But yeah, I really, it kind of got away from me almost, like how much information I got on what's happening with AI in education in Iceland. So yeah, you can look forward to that being released very, very soon.
So Edith ended up with what, 25 pages?
Yeah, it was all in all almost 10,000 words, which is the same amount I wrote for my like university dissertation.
Basically, Edith feels like she just gave birth to a 16-pound baby, is how she feels. But she's very correct in this being explosive. This is basically an investigative journalism reportage on how Iceland is doing with the implementation of the biggest game changer of our times, which is AI. And you're very right in saying that every country represented presented here today is facing the same challenges on figuring out how to use it in the future without squashing creativity and critical thinking among youth and everyone in society. But I would like to hear from you, Liv, because I know that the educational system is also at the heart of your personal project as Denmark's Digital Youth Ambassador. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, my personal project has been, kind of anchored in some of the same things that you're saying about that this big need for critical thinking right now, and this big need for youth to be educated in how to navigate these spaces. And I kind of wanted to do a project that could last beyond this year of working as the Digital Youth Ambassador. So I've created this course program for social studies class in gymnasiums. It's like 6 modules worth of teaching material that kind of has critical thinking at its core, and it has like didactic tools to get youth to kind of think critically about their kind of everyday interaction with digital media, and how it kind of shapes their lives and their futures. And then, it's very, I think it also kind of bridges some of the gaps that I identified in Denmark's resources in the Nordic NAVIGATOR, as it focuses a lot of intersectional perspectives, and it has a whole module that is kind of focused on doing a law explainer about Danish specific laws on these matters. I tried to kind of grasp a lot of things, of course, but within the framework of the educational system. So I hope that it's going to be used also because of that. And it's been tested in a class that loved it. And
Congratulations,
thank you.
Liv.
And I'm
That's
very
amazing.
excited to see it live out there. Yeah.
Exactly. So your personal project is being taught in Danish gymnasiums as we speak. Well, that is an excellent note to end on, because we could obviously talk to you guys all day. It has been a pure pleasure and honor to have you represent your countries as the Digital Youth Ambassadors in the Game Changer project. And if you want to read more about our Digital Youth Ambassadors and their personal project, you can go to nordref.org. That is NORDEF.org, Nordref. All right, thank you so much, you guys. I'm now going to ask you to leave the set and clear the stage for our very next guest.
Thank you.
Which is none other than Valgeir Thor Jakobsson, who is the chair of Samfés, the National Association of Youth Centers in Iceland. As we have heard today, it is so important to raise the bar from talking about digital youth safety to digital youth well-being. And that is because if we have the bar at safety, that is the bare minimum. And then we risk feeling that we have met our expectations simply when children are not being groomed or attacked or assaulted online. But of course, that is deplorable. We should have exponentially higher expectations than that. We should be focusing on digital well-being where everyone can flourish. And we also need to have quite some prevention notions with us in that type of work. And as I understand, Valgeir, you are here to tell us exactly what you are doing in the realm of digital youth work in Iceland with regard to prevention, and also with how we can make the internet a slightly better place for everyone.
Yes, definitely. So I've been thinking about this a lot for the last few days, just thinking about the environment of the digital world, especially in the free time of the youth, young adults and the kids and teenagers. And it's quite a lot. It's hard to pinpoint one exact thing. But in our youth centers here in Iceland, I think we have a field that is very adaptable to change. And I was thinking about the first thought that came to mind is like, what will the generations 20 years from now think about how we use digital work, digital environment in our work? Maybe they will think it's complete nonsense what we're doing right now, but of course we're trying to adapt and do our best and everything. But I thought of one conversation I had with an old colleague. He was working in my youth centers before I was born, so not really a colleague, but from the same field. So I've been working in the same youth center now for 11 years, and he started working there in 1994. And he was telling me these stories about, like, by the basketball court, this is where we used to smoke with the teenagers. There we got all the juicy information.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about it now, smoking...
That would have been my generation.
Yeah, thinking about it now.
Smoking by the basketball court, yeah, that tracks, yes.
But looking at it from our perspective today, it sounds completely ridiculous, smoking with the teenagers. But at that time, it was kind of the normal thing to do. Even though there were these voices and informations that it was bad and harmful and everything, it wasn't banned yet. But 6-7 years later, around the millennium 2000, youth centers all around Iceland took a part in this huge prevention project with non-smoking. And I think we're kind of in the between now with the digital world. As soon as consoles came around, every youth center in Iceland just bought a console, so you could use this free time, at least in a safer space, a safer environment, around other people, and kind of taking this away from being alone and being with people. And same thing happened with social media. And first, like the blog posts. As soon as everybody had a blog, every youth center had a blog.
Oh God,
to show,
I had a blog.
Yeah, to show what
I had
happened.
a blog. I'm so glad it does not exist online anymore.
Yes, but not existing and existing in more extreme ways. But then social media came around, youth centers jumped on board, because this is like the medium where you actually connect with this generation. But as for now, it's like we're always stepping in and trying our best to lead or implement how to use this technology in a healthier way in your free time. Doing it with informal educational ways, like grabbing the conversation around kids. We're not like banning them being on their phone, but we can always talk to them and try to persuade them and just get a thought up, inspire their thought of what is healthy and what is not. That's like the biggest thing we do. A part of it is like we use social media. Almost every youth center in Iceland, I think, uses social media to get contact with the kids and getting the information out there. But will, like 20 years from now, people think that's ridiculous, that we were luring kids into the social media world or having an extra excuse of using social media? Maybe. We don't know now.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I think we can ascertain, though, that they are already online. So
yes.
I think it's a wiser choice to meet them where they are.
Of course.
Yes.
And I remember one great question that the Youth Council of Samfés had when they got the Minister of Children and Education to visit. She was talking about the phone bans in school and how she saw it in her vision and how she would implement it. And one kid just came with a great question. I don't think she had a perfect answer to it, but he asked, like, why not just teach us healthy use of the phones? Because you teach us healthy use of everything else. Like, they don't ban alcohol until a certain age.
Yes.
They don't ban everything here and there, but they teach the healthy use of it and teach healthy decision making and everything.
Exactly. In a world where, so we can't child-proof the world.
No.
But we can, with the right education, world-proof our children. And that is what this young person was basically asking
Yes.
for. Can you just like world-proof us so that we can go out there? And in the world, of course, the online realm is very much a part of the reality that they're facing. So how can we do that? How can we world-proof them in online spaces?
That's the biggest question. Like, for my part, in my field, with working in youth centers and youth houses, from kids aged 10 to 25 years old, the biggest thing we can do is just have an impact with conversations and never not grab a conversation. Every time we see someone on their phone, ask them what they're doing. Just these small seeds that you're around a lot of people and you still pull up your phone. We do it also.
Oh, God, yes.
And every time a kid asks me what I'm doing, I feel kind of ashamed because I'm not doing anything. But these small things, these that probably provoke a conversation, it gives them like this mutual ground of conversations of what is healthy and what is not. And there's also understanding that the adult people don't know the answers also. It gives them confidence that maybe they have the answers. It's their reality is just as much as our reality. And using like these conversation starters in an informal educational way, because just asking the questions and letting them answer them, it's this informal education of getting them to the answer without them knowing. It's like I'm not teaching them the answer because I don't have it, but as long as they keep questioning it and they give also answers, they maybe find a different path or find a different use of their phone and everything. And also, I've been thinking about, because a lot of youth centers, especially around Reykjavik, it started as a trial in, I think, 2016, where youth workers came with informal educations into classes in schools, teaching about sex education in a different way. We're not talking about sex and diseases and pregnancies and everything around that, just the other health, the communication,
The feelings,
the boundaries and everything. And a huge part of it was digital. We were talking about like that you set boundaries in life, but you rarely do it digital, or you have at least whole different boundaries when it's digital. Just like a kind of an epidemic we were watching happen in like 2017-18 with just nude photos around the internet. Just almost every other kid in 10th and 9th grade had gotten a nude photo on Snapchat without their will or acceptance. And sometimes way more than health. And that was like a ringing bell and a problem. But it's going down now. We go into these classes every year in 2 schools in Reykjavik, and I know more youth centers do it also. And we see this number drop down. Mostly, in my thought, because we have had these conversations every year with every kid since the 8th to 10th grade. So we have to provoke this thought. We're not just teaching like this is bad and this is good. We're just talking about them, talking through it. What is normal, what is not? How do you set boundaries? What are normal boundaries on the internet and everything? And it shows it works.
Exactly, and the Game Changer has actually made 2 outputs or little products, if you will, that serve exactly what you're talking about, these 2 very important areas. On the one hand, we have something called chat fictions, which are icebreakers, like you're saying, or conversation starters, where you see on the screen a conversation play out that touches upon something such as derogatory terms in like gaming spaces where people are using really toxic words for each other, and then claiming that they were just joking. And like, if you take offense, you just don't have a sense of humor. Like that's just one kind of conversation starter on how we can talk in a more wholesome tone to each other and be less toxic in online environments. But we also created to touch upon the nude photo crisis, if you will, this epidemic that we were seeing not just in Iceland, but across the Nordic region of non-consensual intimate image sharing.
Yeah.
We created something called the eggplant bot, which is a little bot shaped as an eggplant that talks to the user in all of our Nordic languages, Swedish, Icelandic, Finnish, Danish, and in English, about nude photos and how the user feels. And just like you're saying, it's not preachy. It does not draw a black and white picture of what's good and bad. It just forces the user to make up their mind where they stand on nude photos, and that they're always, in every step, informed and aware about consent, not only of the other party, but also their own.
Yeah.
Where do my boundaries lie? Where is my comfort zone? So that we're also navigating peer pressure along the way.
And there's also, every time they talk about it out loud, just these derogatory terms or toxic behaviors and everything, if it comes up to a conversation, then it's already starting going from the digital to the real world. And it should be the role of every youth worker to always grab these conversations. If you just hear it back from your mind, then you ask, what were you saying? Or everything. Because as soon as you let this go, it gets more normalized. As soon as you approach it, not with toxicity or being mad or everything, just approach it, that you vocalize that you think it's kind of weird that you are actually talking about it and everything. It takes this power from this. It takes it from the digital to the real and to the consequences, to the conversation and everything. So I think that's like the biggest role that youth centers and youth workers can do, but also have it as a constructive work that you work towards. It's just listening to get to know their world. And also because their reality is digital. It's just as digital as the real world. It's quite different from the other generations who got like these digital things when they were teenagers or in their young adult years. It wasn't like their whole life. But this generation, it's from their birth to
Exactly. I mean, the
modern
first pictures are usually like ultrasound pictures.
Yeah.
So they're online even before they're born.
Yeah.
But tell me though, Valgeir, now that you are basically frontline worker in the sense that you are consorting with youth on a daily basis, what would you say? Are you positive and optimistic about the future we're headed into? Or do you have some qualms about where we're headed to hell in a handbasket with AI on top?
I'm mostly positive because almost every conversation I have with the youth about these real issues with digital world and everything, they're on the exact same page as us. They feel less powerful because they're not adults. They're not there in the decision-making progress. They don't own the companies or governments or everything, but they have all the right ideas. They know what is unhealthy about it, even though maybe sometimes they can't stop it, but they know it. That's the first step. They are aware of this digital world and how it will affect their life and their future and everything. And that's the first step in everything, because this is the generation that will be in power in maybe 10 years. And that's like the most promising thing you can think of, because this generation that is already thinking about it will have the decision-making power in a few years. So just keep talking to them and get their point of view, because sometimes their point of view is a whole different than your whole reality, because you're not a teenager anymore, even though I'd like to think I am, but I'm not in the reality. So you learn quite a lot from them, and you get kind of optimistic and positive about hearing their point of views.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The more you consort with youth, in my opinion, the more you feel the future is bright.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that is at the heart of the Game Changer project, is not just harnessing youth perspectives, but centering them and involving them in every step of the way. And that is exactly what we're going to do with our next panel. Valgeir, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been incredibly informative, and we wish you all the best of luck in your important work with youth in Iceland.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we are going to welcome to the stage, the proverbial stage that we have here today, two representatives from the Youth Council of Samfés, which is the organization that Valgeir heads. They are here to tell us what it's like to be young and online in a shifting world. They're going to have that conversation with Íris Þóra Birgisdóttir, our Digital Youth Ambassador of Iceland, and they're going to be discussing, amongst other things, the most trending buzzword of our times, which is, of course, AI. And without further ado, I am going to give the stage over to our youth, because one more time, we are centering those perspectives today. There's been quite enough of the adults talking. So over to you.
Okay, so it's me again, Íris. Hello, everyone. I'm going to be conducting this interview. And I am here with Hinrik and Styrmir, who are with the Youth Council Samfés. So can you tell me how old you are again?
I am 16.
I am also 16.
Yeah, so this is a very crucial age when we're talking about, online violence, because they are quite front and center here. So I'm going to just start with the first question, which is, what are the positive aspects of being online as a young person today, and what, in your opinion, are causes for concern?
It's easier to connect with people online. It's very easy to stay in contact with someone who lives maybe far away, as in like the Westfjords or something. In Samfés, we meet a lot of people from all over the country, and it is quite hard to talk to them or have any communication with them without having social media or something like that.
Yeah.
You can also gather information about what's going on in the world, and yeah.
Yeah. And what are your concerns?
Maybe like people getting too addicted to the social media and to their phone and not living life to its fullest.
And people spreading negativity on social media and hating and spreading hate speech.
Is that something that you have come across yourselves?
Yeah, very much.
Yes.
Very much.
Too much.
Yeah.
Okay. And how does that affect you?
it makes me go in a bad mood because hate speech is not good. We should all be kind and be good to everyone.
Okay, and have you received any sort of support on this? Have you received any sort of education, or is the school there for you in these sort of situations?
I think schools do educate on information about social media and how to act on social media, but I don't think they go into very much details, and I think it needs to be more information spread about social media and how it affects.
In my school, we got a lot of education on false news.
Yeah.
That was very fun and very good.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And we have now been joined by Skule Breie, who is with the Icelandic Safer Internet Center. Welcome.
Thank you.
To catch you up, we've been speaking about the positives about online existence for young people and their concerns. Main points were that the internet connects people. And the main concerns was that, there is online violence, there's hate speech. And, the question is, what do we do to support young people? And of course, you are the expert on those matters. So I would like to ask you, what can we do to support youths today?
Well, big question. And it's very important that we try to understand it and answer it in some kind of way. And this has been kind of our main focus for the last years now, because we mainly try to lower the statistics around hate speech online. We want to see less fake news on social media, less sending of nudes, watching of pornography. We're always talking about less. And what we're seeing now is the positive experiences. And it's around 20-25% of youth that tells us they feel better about themselves after being online. And we really want to get that statistic up. Because there is just so much we can do about spreading of fake news online. But what we can do is put emphasis on the people, the social aspect of internet security. So for the last years, our focus has been mainly about the cybersecurity, the technical aspects, and our focus now is turning more towards people, the social aspect, what we can do to empower young people, and mainly what they tell us, those who have good experiences of social media and being online, is that they feel that they can do something. They know how to report. There's someone they can talk to. There's someone that educates them. So that needs to be our focus.
Yeah, and you had started to touch on that you have received some sort of education. You are seeing this. But what are your thoughts on this that he mentions, that, moving the focus from cybersecurity into just being with youths in real life? Is this something you resonate with? Is there something that you connect to?
Yes, it is something that I connect to.
Yeah? How so?
Our focus has been so much on cybersecurity, as you said, but if we look at it more from single person basis, as he said, if we get the numbers up from 20 to 25% of people that feel good after being on social media, that will create a wave effect that will make more people feel good and will make them more able to go and meet friends in the real world and have just fun without having the phones.
Yeah. And what would you say? What are your thoughts?
I really can't put it into words what my thoughts are right now, but I can answer something later.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to my personal interest, which is AI. And I have touched on this topic with all of you just in separate occasions, because AI is the word on everyone's lips today. It is the thing that everyone's talking about. It's the thing that's really kind of disrupting all of this work that we're doing about online violence, because it creates such new, frankly terrifying possibilities, but often also very positive possibilities. And the thing is, it will affect our futures massively, and especially us young people and you being even younger than me will see the effects more so. And we are all using AI, even though we may not realize it. You know, it's in social media, it's in all of these apps and, you know, things that we use today. So even if we're consciously using it or not, it, you know, it touches all of our lives. So I'm going to begin with you boys. Your future will look very different than the generations before you due to the impact of AI. What are your thoughts on that?
Me personally, I'm not really a fan of AI because of how it steals information from other people on the internet, and just how the environmental impact itself is on the earth. I really don't like AI myself. So, what was the question again?
Just your thoughts on AI and the way it'll affect your future.
Me personally, I'm not really a fan of AI.
Yeah.
I really don't like it.
I think it's like it can help you if you use it in the right way. As in myself, I use it a lot when I'm studying, use it to break down complex words and explain it better. Because, yes, and I think we just have to tread very carefully when using AI. And we have to make sure that we're using it responsibly, and also think about the environmental side of things. It's like, I've heard that it takes water and evaporates it and uses it to cool down, but I haven't looked that much into it, so I'm like just at the surface. But I don't want to see all the water in the earth evaporate because we want to know the answers to our shower thoughts.
I think we can all agree on that one. I would like to know if you've received any sort of education on AI, or if it's just kind of been on your end. How has AI education looked like for you so far?
Me personally, I've never gotten any education on AI. Only when you came to Samfés and kind of explained it to us. Mm-hmm. That's the only main education I've gotten on AI, other than on social media.
Yeah, the same for me. I've only gotten my education on AI from you, and also just from social media, YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. The teachers are using AI. My Danish teacher is always talking about how great it is and la la la, but we haven't gotten any real education on how to use it and when not to use it.
Okay, and so these things you're seeing on social media that are teaching you about AI, is that what you're saying? Is that it's environmentally bad and it's using up the water? And, you know, what is it that you're seeing? What is social media telling you about AI?
They're only like telling me about the newest AI, newest feature on AI, and what it can generate, like videos and stuff. And I also see how environmentally not friendly it is on the earth.
I see many AI videos, and also I've seen people talk about how it's very bad for the environment, and other people talking about how it isn't bad for the environment. And there's always like a back and forth of people saying something and others saying they're lying, and we don't know what to trust. I don't know what side to go on, because every side is like, there is no middle ground. It's either this or that. So like, that's not very good.
Okay, so back to you, Skule. You are educating people on AI and AI literacy. And because it is such a pressing matter, what would you say to these things that these boys have said, and what are you doing today to ensure that that today's youths are AI literate?
I would say that I agree with them, and I feel that because we have these AI literacy courses, and I hope we get the chance to educate them both in these courses. It's very unfortunate that they've not been attending any of them, but what we see is that the youth have more cautious approach to it than us adults. Adults tend to think about more AI, let's use it in every way possible. But then we get these cautious things about maybe not in everything we do. We need to be responsible. We need to think about sustainability, the future, the environment. And these are very important questions to raise. One of the things that we encounter when we look at research around AI and lectures we give is that we tend to overestimate our own ability to see what's fake and what's not. So we need to empower people how to see what's fake and what's not. Because it's very bad to go online and think, well, I can't trust anything. It's all bullshit or it's all AI or what to do. I need to know what to trust and what to do. And our AI literacy, which is one of the most difficult things we do because we need to constantly update it. Every time we give the lecture, we update it. What we want to do is give you a bit of a hope. What to do, how to use it, when to use your brain, when to be critical about it, when it crosses boundaries. But it's kind of in the discussion, we're a little bit behind when it comes to the government. We are talking about phones in schools when we should be talking about social media. Now we're talking about social media and not talking about AI. So we're always a few steps behind. We should be putting more focus on AI chatbots, how we use ChatGPT, because you see both youth and older people, they use it a lot.
Okay, so boys, after hearing that, because he is kind of our expert on AI literacy, do you have any specific questions for him? And what would you maybe tell him you would like to see from him? Because he's the person that should be hearing it.
Is there any chance that you could put like AI literacy in the school curriculum? Because in my school we got like social media literacy and like online browsing literacy. Is there some project in the works with someone in the government to make AI literacy a little bit in school?
Wow. Yes, there is work. Yes, but it's. I think we should already been implementing it in the curriculum. But yes, there is work being done. But one of the things is also you can put it in the curriculum. But who's going to teach it? Because not all teachers feel comfortable about it. Teachers cannot be expert in everything. So we also need material to work with. So we need to put more emphasis on that. But yes, this definitely needs to be implemented in the curriculum.
Do you have any questions?
Styrmir kind of stole my question, so no.
I mean, one thing has been like for the AI literacy thing, we are now building a team. So we are planning now to visit every school. And one of the things is I hear about youth telling me, I've never had any education about AI literacy because we haven't been able to visit every school. We have lacked resources, but we are getting there. And one of the best things about being in Iceland is that it's the same people that does the research that's also on the floor having these discussions. So I would say we are in a good position in Iceland when it comes to both doing research and talking to children and teenagers.
Yes, I saw that myself in my research, just to give a bit of a sneak peek to my research because it hasn't officially been published, as I said earlier. But one of the main things that I noticed was kind of just a lack of funding and resources. And I know for a fact that that is a plan, that they are planning to put more into it, but it's kind of, the way that governments work is everything is very, very slow, right? Like all the, administration processes, it all has to go through a very official process and everything just kind of has to take its steps. But AI doesn't go slow. AI goes way faster than anyone has any clue what to do with. It's lightning fast. And who does it affect most? Of course, the kids. Like they just use it, they take up their phones and, the AI is right there and they're going to just go for it. And so I want to go back to this question of your futures because I think that's so important because when we talk about AI education, the reason why it's so important is because we want to protect children and youth and we want to make their futures better, not worse. And so because you both said that you had your concerns about what the future could look like, but could you maybe give me more of an insight into how you, maybe not just you, but also just like the general, what people are talking about when they say like what AI will look like in your future and what you would want AI to look like in your future?
What people say on the internet that AI will look like in the future, it will be taking over every single job, and it will just be taking up jobs and pushing out independent artists that are creating art. And the second one was
What do you want to see?
what I want to see. I want to see not that. I don't want to see. I really don't want to see AI overall. I'm not the AI fan, so yeah.
And what about you?
I don't want to see AI in entry-level positions in jobs. I think AI should be used as a helping tool, not as the main tool. I think we should have the option of looking at AI if we need the help for it, but I think we should also have something else first. Like AI could be like the last resort or something that we could use to help us, but it should not be the main thing that is like dictating our lives. And yes, it's all going into that direction where everything is going to be AI centered, like from security jobs and like self-checkout. And there's AI is stealing so many entry-level positions, and people like us, the next generation, we can't get the working experience that we need because AI is stealing our jobs. And also art. Artists are very important. Life without art is meaningless. So I don't want to see AI stealing art and creating art.
I agree with you. I think we need to hold on to human autonomy and human dignity. I think is an incredibly important thing to remember. Skuli, do you have any final thoughts on what they've said today?
Yeah, I mean, what I hear here, and every time I talk to this generation, is that we want to protect what we have. We want to connect. We want to play games. We want to search for information in a safe way and entertainment. So we need to limit these harmful elements to make these platforms safe. We want to change the aspect of we are using them and they are not using us. So what I think is this is the generation that's going to push for this change. And I'm very optimistic that when we do that, it won't take our job. We will find a way to work with it. But I want you to raise your voice and your generation to raise your voice. How do you want to see the future with AI, social media, the internet? Because we can have an effect. We can push for this change.
Absolutely, and that's why conversations like these are so important, where youths, both my age who are 20 and above, and also youths who are under 18, our voices are so important. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming, all of you. I think this conversation has been incredibly important, I think, for the people watching and just for us as well to just talk to one another. I think also that's just an important thing. Talk to your kids, talk to university students if you have the chance. We have so many things to say. Again, thank you, and I will allow Þórdís to take the stage again.
Thank you all so very much for this fascinating panel. It was Hinrik, it was Styrmir, it was Skúli Bragi Geirdal, the head of Safer Internet Center in Iceland. We're so grateful for your time today. The next item on our agenda is a very special one. We're extremely honored today to be, after all the work that we put into creating the Nordic Navigator, we gathered, of course, hundreds of materials, close to 300 to be exact. So we got the full scope of the resources that are available in the Nordic region today. And in that search, we found some absolute gems. As a result, it is a pleasure to honor two very outstanding initiatives that we feel are unique on a Nordic scale. Without further ado, I am going to tell you about the first outstanding initiative to receive a special recognition here today. It is the Swedish campaign Något har hänt, or Something Has Happened. And to quote the reasoning for this nomination, Något har hänt is designed to educate young people with intellectual disabilities about sexual violence and their right to have their boundaries respected both online and offline. Through a web-based TV series that has sign language interpretation for those with hearing impairment and audio descriptions for the visually impaired, as well as interactive games and a podcast, this project is a shining example of inclusivity and equality for disabled youth. We will now be seeing a short excerpt from Något har hänt.
Du, vill du inte stanna en stund?
Jag hinner inte. Men jag hör av mig sen. Vi kan väl ses imorgon också. Jag köpte den här till dig. Då säger vi så.
Jag har precis börjat dejta Kim. Men varför vill han aldrig umgås efter vi har haft sex? Han är ju snäll och han ger mig en massa fina presenter. Men det är något som känns fel.
And that was a bit of the Något har hänt initiative, which we wholeheartedly recommend and is one of the hundreds of resources that you can find on NordicNavigator.org. But this was not the only outstanding initiative that we are honoring here today. We are also honoring the nominee 112, the emergency hotline of Iceland. And the reason for doing so, to quote the nomination, 112 receives it for not only recognizing the seriousness of online abuse and for featuring the youth perspectives in doing so. It's featured prominently on the 112 website as something that is an emergency when it occurs. But also, moreover, 112 has hosted the short film competition Sexan for 7th grade children all over the country of Iceland, encouraging youth to partake in shaping their own digital rights education. And this is an excellent example of how youth can be treated not as a passive recipient, but as an active co-creator of their own digital realities. So without further ado, we will now see a short video from 112.
Kannski viltu ekki tala við vinkonina lengur að því hún tók vídeóið fara úr toppnum án þess að þú vissir. Og hún sendi á allir í bekknum það að deila nektarmynd. Það ólöglegt. Ef ykkur biður því nektarmynd, af hverju myndirðu? Einmitt, en ef ykkur vill borga þér, myndirðu flexa. Kannski pínu erfitt að segja nei þegar ykkur búin að setja peninginn á reikninginn og bíður. Kannski þetta ekki gaurinn úr hinum skólanum sem hann segist vera. Þá þið langið kannski að byrja á föstu. Þarftu ekki að senda nektarmynd til þess. Ef þú sendir nektarmynd á eitthvað sem þú ert skotin í, þá má þú samt ekki deila henni. Þú veist aldrei hvar myndin endar. Hún geti endað einhverjum sem situr hann á netið. Alveg eins og slagsmálavídeóin. Þau fara út allt. Svona hratt. Ofbeldi aldrei í lagi.
Thank you very much. And now I have been joined by a special guest. This is Hjördís Garðarsdóttir, who's here from 112 today to receive our special recognition. And I have a question for you, Hjördís. I would like to know in just a few short words, can you tell us why 112 has chosen to center the voices and perspectives of youth in a way that is so much more prominent than what we've been seeing in emergency and law enforcement response in the Nordic region? What is your reasoning behind that? Because we are big fans.
Thank you, and thank you very much for this honor. It's very good to be recognized for doing something. I think it all boils down to something very easy. The disabled community in Iceland often talks about nothing about us without us, and we just kind of went with that and ran with it for all groups. So children and youths especially. It doesn't matter how many questions you ask and how many studies you do. Without their voices and without them telling them stories themselves, you're never gonna see from the right perspective. So we recognize that talking about what we thought they were talking about would never be the same as just letting them talk
Handing
themselves.
the microphone
Yes,
over to
exactly.
them. Exactly.
So, and I think that's been a huge success, not just with youth and children, but in all aspects of our webpage and how we do it. But I also think that the fact that we're small, we only have the one emergency line in Iceland, the only one emergency company, makes it a lot easier to do things different from the other Nordic countries where you have to coordinate. So that has given us the chance to kind of go a different path.
Exactly. Being small can sometimes be a great advantage, a big advantage,
Yes,
if you will.
A very big advantage, yes.
Exactly. And to quote our digital youth ambassadors who sat in this space earlier, what they most admired about 112 going down this road of featuring digital violence as an emergency is that we are now seeing a generation grow up that feel that it is just as relevant to call 112 if someone shares an inappropriate nude picture of them, or if there's a fire in the house next door.
Exactly. Unfortunately, our laws still aren't quite caught up with that, but we don't want people to feel that. We want children especially and youth to be taken seriously in their daily lives. And this is much more a part of their daily lives than a house fire or something to that effect. But we also saw that we needed really good resources about this just for our staff, because we were also seeing they were getting these calls and they were lost. But we need to be taking this very seriously, because even though we think we know the harm that they are doing, we probably won't see it for some years to come, the harm that's being done. So if we're not taking it seriously now, we're just growing exponentially into the future.
Exactly. And by the time someone calls 112, it's usually too late.
Very far into the process, yes.
Very far into the process, which is why we're so happy to be introducing the tool of the Nordic Navigator here today, which is, of course, open and available for all to use, which does so much of the groundwork that you were just describing of finding these materials, the materials that we need to have at hand to educate ourselves and to stay in touch with the online realities of youth, to ensure that the internet becomes a place where we can all flourish.
As it should be.
As it should be. And without further ado, Hjördís, you are now receiving our bouquet of flowers for outstanding work and for being a specially recognized initiative in the Game Changer Project. Thank you so much. And we are running out of time officially. I want everyone to know that we have been, of course, touching upon incredibly important things today. There's multiple reasons to go into the future with optimism. We've heard from the Center of Safer Internet in Iceland that there are attempts to put AI literacy onto the school curricula. We have outstanding digital youth ambassadors that are working hard to save the world, but we also know that we are living in dangerous times where our democracies are under threat. We're living in the most democratic and egalitarian part of the world, but that is something that is subject to change if we are not vigilant about safeguarding the progress we have made. The Game Changer Project aims to do that. The Nordic Navigator is open for you to use at nordicnavigator.org. We're going to leave you with the slide, the last slide that I'm going to ask Embrek, our technician, to show to you now. You can pull out your phones, go to Nordic Navigator, navigate the site yourselves, and also all the Game Changer outputs are available on nordref.org. I'm going to spell that one more time, NORDREF.org. That is the Nordic Digital Rights and Equality Foundation, who has been so honored to host you here today. And we're looking forward to seeing you online and off in the future. Thank you so much, and goodbye.